What up, you fluffy bastards? My name is Liquid Blitz, and today I've got another superclass for you. This one is called the Sluggernaut. This time, it's strictly an American class. America, fuck yeah! This loadout has an American primary weapon, an American pistol, an American melee weapon, gadgets, not so much, but I've done the best I can with what I have. As usual, I'll quickly rattle off the class loadout and then I'll bring you all the strengths of this class in fact form, as well as a bunch of tips to help you kick ass and take names. But before all that, I've made a mascot for this superclass. This is the first time I've made a mascot. And here it is. Check out that artwork. Check out them brush strokes. Isn't he so friendly and cute and clearly useful on a battlefield? If you've got glasses as powerful as mine, you shall see he's actually carrying a Gavea 98 sniper rifle. Anyway, moving on. Okay, first of all, class loadout. Let's start with the centerpiece, the primary weapon. It is the Model 10A Slug variant, and on it we're using the dot reticle at 2x zoom. By the way, before I move on, I should point out the Model 10 is an American shotgun, so we're off to a good strong American start. As for the pistol, this loadout is using the M1911 with a 1.5x zoom, which I put on all my pistols. That, again, is an American pistol, so we're off to a seriously strong American start. As for equipment, okay, this is where shit goes sideways. There are only 4 possible gadgets for the assault class, none of which, unfortunately, were invented in the US. But obviously I want to equip something, so I've chosen the 2 things that have the closest links to the US. And that's actually a good thing, because the 2 gadgets I almost always use exclusively for any assault class are the AT grenade and the AT rocket gun, but I fancied a change, and the 2 things with the closest links to the US are dynamite and AT mine. Dynamite was actually invented by a Swedish chemist, Alfred Nobel. Do you recognize his name? Nobel? Alfred Nobel established the Nobel Prizes with the money left in his will. So that's a nice fact of the day for you. The inventor of dynamite invented the Nobel Prizes. And one of the categories for Nobel Prizes is the Nobel Peace Prize. And inventing dynamite and inventing a peace award, that sounds counterintuitive to me. As for AT mines, the anti-tank mines in their sort of modern form was actually invented by the British and then improved upon by the Germans. But the US used pretty much identical sort of pressure devices decades earlier in the US Civil War. They used these pressure devices to destroy trains on the tracks. So it was actually Americans who first used pressure-induced explosives. I love me some history and facts. No, facts are delicious facts. Anyway, sorry about that. I lost myself for a second there. As for the grenade, okay, I researched every type of grenade. Like, I spent a long time on Wikipedia. And, like, things like incendiary grenades and your basic sort of gunpowder grenades go as far back as, like, 1,000 years ago, if not more. And most other types of grenades, like your more modern gas grenades and so on, they were invented either outside the US or they're generally manufactured in many countries. So basically, I just chose the grenade that complemented this class best. The grenade has nothing to do with the US, unfortunately. So yeah, I chose the impact grenade. Now, I'll get into why I chose that in sort of the strengths and tips a bit later on. As for the melee weapon, this is a hardcore American class, so there's only one clear winner. There's only one thing we should use, and that's the US trench knife. USA, USA, etc. Anyway, that's the loadout, so let's move on to all the biggest strengths of this class, and some of these are some super strong strengths. Now, before I slap down the first strength, not everyone knows what a slug is. I mean, it's not obvious to people who live in countries where guns are illegal, like the UK, for example. But for people who don't know what a slug round is, most shotguns fire multiple pellets per shot. So you get a nice large spread per single shot. That's why shotguns are so damn powerful at close range, because there's many pellets spreading out. Well, a slug round is a single projectile. Like a bullet in any other gun, although usually they're much larger than your standard bullets, and they have a different sort of flight mechanic. So where with most shotguns you can be you don't have to be very accurate because of the spread. With a slug round you have to be as accurate as with any other sort of rifle or gun. Anyway, strength number 1. The Model 10 Slug has uniquely huge damage up close. Like the Martini Henry, its damage is higher than 100. Its damage is exactly the same as the Martini Henry, 112 max damage. This means it's a one-hit kill to anywhere but the legs and the forearms. That makes this one seriously powerful weapon. So you do a one-shot kill to all those body parts up to 8 meters. At 8 meters, the damage starts to drop, and it drops to 100 damage at 11 meters. And this means it's a one-hit kill to the chest all the way up to 11 meters, not just 8. And then its damage sort of tails off pretty quickly to a minimum damage of 45 at any range, which means it's a one-shot kill to the head up to 50 meters, I believe, exactly 50 meters. And obviously that's not great. A headshot doesn't kill beyond 50 meters, but to be honest, even though it's a slug shotgun, you shouldn't be using any shotgun beyond 50 meters. That's just ridiculous. So that being said, that is a long range for a shotgun, but that means nothing if it isn't accurate. So, is it accurate? Yes! I'm not just going to list all the stats on the screen, just take my word for it. It's almost as accurate as most medic rifles. In terms of spread, it's just slightly worse than most medic rifles, which is really accurate. And just FYI, it also fires the slug round at roughly the same muzzle velocity as the Martini Henry. So that is damn decent in terms of range and speed. So you can, seriously, you could 100% rely on accuracy for medium ranges with this weapon. So what do we know so far? We know that this is powerful up close, really powerful up close, and it's accurate over medium ranges. So that leads me to this next strength, and this next strength is the single greatest strength of the Model 10A slug shotgun, above all the other variants. The fact that it has high damage and that it's very accurate means it's effective at close and medium range, whereas all other shotguns are only effective at close range. And keep in mind that yes, while it only fires one single projectile, so you've got to be much more accurate, up close it does such high damage that it's just as effective at killing at close range as any other shotgun. And key for actually landing your shots up close is hipfire accuracy. The hipfire accuracy for this weapon isn't anything special, but you'll find that in practice it is good enough to quite easily dispatch people with hipfire. Anyway, finally, moving away from the primary weapon, the pistol, the M1911, is one of the greatest pistols ever made, hands down. In Battlefield 1, it's pretty well balanced across the board. I mean, it's got some weak points, but I mean, it's got a high max damage. It might be one of the highest max damages, with the exception of revolvers, and it's got a very fast reload speed. So yeah, pretty well balanced, and of course, the most important point, it's American. As for the gadgets, as you'll know, I mean, for a start, Dynamite offers both high infantry and high vehicle damage, just across the board. And the AT mines offer huge preemptive damage against vehicles. I mean, just FYI, the AT mines do more damage to vehicles than any other infantry weapon or gadget in the game. They do colossal damage. Anyway, that's it for all the main strengths, so let's discuss some important ass tips from ass tips. Let's remove the word ass from there. Let's discuss some important tips for making the most out of this super awesome class. Let's sort of work through the strengths backwards and translate those strengths into helpful practical tips. So the first tip would be to place AT mines along popular vehicle paths like roads, etc., but try to sort of camouflage them or sort of hide them slightly in debris and just general scenery. By which I mean, don't just place them in a spot like on a road that's completely flat with no debris, no rocks, no pebbles, anything. Because if you do that, the mines stand out like a green cat. Meow. By the way, the same idea goes for tripwire bombs when you're playing a scout class. Try and hide the wire as best as you can. And if you want to see a demonstration of how to properly place a tripwire so the wire is actually as hidden as possible, go watch my Ultimate Guide to Sniping video where I cover every single gadget in the scout class. But yeah, go check that out. Anyway, my next tip is when you want to use dynamite on vehicles, approach the vehicle from the opposite direction that the driver is looking, for obvious reasons, and just hope that anyone in the gunner positions doesn't see you or doesn't shoot you. I mean, if you want to get really specific here, this tactic is hardest for sort of heavy tanks and the Saint-Chamond tanks, since they have the most gunner seats and they can see all around. Light tanks don't have a gunner position, but the driver can do a 360 with his gun, and he can look in third person as well, so that's difficult too. I suppose this tactic works best with artillery trucks, since they have a high sort of back end, so you can see it's sort of hidden. And the sort of general rear approach tactic works excellently for land ships, I would guess. And that's because the gunner positions, the two side gunners on a land ship, because in a land ship you've got the driver and then two gunners. The gunner position can look forward and turn about 55 degrees to the side, so the gunners can't shoot or look behind. So that's excellent. Although, do keep in mind that I think a couple of land ship variants, the driver can switch to a secondary gunner position that's rear view, so the driver can quickly switch to a gun that looks behind. But most of the time, drivers in land ships will just be using the main weapon. So yeah, if you want to use dynamite on vehicles, choose your moments well. Actually, this leads on to my next related tip. Drop AT mines underneath / sort of behind the vehicle. In fact, you know what, just walk up to a vehicle, drop all your AT mines, and then throw a dynamite in for good measure to blow up all those AT mines plus the dynamite and the vehicle. I mean, if you manage to do that, that is a guaranteed super duper whooper looper kill. The next tip is moving back to the Slug again. You will find that you're going to get a lot of like 92 damage hits, do you know what I mean? Just not enough to kill them. So I suggest you switch to your M1911 pistol, or you just throw an impact grenade to finish them off. That being said, using the Slug to try and get a second follow-up shot is a perfectly valid tactic. Anyway, the next tip is actually another tip sort of along the same lines. I suggest you use your impact grenade to do preemptive damage before you start shooting with your Slug shotgun. Because if you do some damage with your impact grenade, it's almost a guaranteed one-hit kill with your Slug, wherever you shoot them. I've actually given this tip before about opening combat with your grenade so that it's easier and takes less bullets to kill. But this tip really does go doubly for this loadout specifically, and any loadout where you're using the Martini Henry, because if you've used that extensively, you'll know you get a lot of like 98 damage hits and it's very annoying. The next tip is to hip-fire your Slug weapon when you're up close. You'll find that under 10 meters, it's actually really great for hip-firing multiple people. And to make the hip-firing as sort of efficient as possible, the next tip, aim for the chest when hip-firing. I mean, as you can see in the strengths, the one-hit kill places on the body are so widespread, especially under 8 meters, that the chest is in the center of all those one-hit kill body parts. I mean, think about it. The head is above, the stomach and balls are below, your shoulders and sort of like upper arms are to the sides. So if you aim for the chest, you've got all this area of error and still get a one-shot kill. So aiming for the chest gives you the best statistical efficient chance of killing in one. You gots to love them logical statistics! Next tip. Try to stay as close as possible to your enemies to make the most of that massive point-blank range damage. It's so much damage, man. Although saying that, the next tip, conversely, don't be afraid to aim down sight for longer ranges. As I said earlier, the accuracy is good enough, and the sight on the gun is actually clear enough to easily land shots under like 50 meters. So while I advise you try to generally, most of the time, try and get as close as you can to your enemies, obviously that isn't always an option. So in such cases, just aim down sight and shoot their balls off. Anyway, those are all the tips I've got for you. If you've got anything to add, or if you've got any tips of your own, make sure to leave them in the comments below to help out your fellow gamers. This video isn't just about me. I like to think of these videos as sort of repositories of information where many people can contribute. And never forget, I suck ball, so there would definitely be some great tips for this loadout that I haven't thought of. Like this video if you liked it, like this video if you didn't like it, and join me in my next video. My next video, I'm not sure, I've had an idea for a while about making sort of awards videos for each class's weapons. For example, I would make a Battlefield 1 support weapons awards video, and in it I would have different awards like best overall weapon, best high skill weapon, most underrated weapon, etc. I think it's just a great video idea, and it gives me the chance to, you know, drop some stats and shit some facts. Anyway, whatever comes next, I'll see you in the next video. Mwah.